Many people are setting up their various virtual machines and cloud machines. Let me show you the first project once you get it working here. So if the easiest machine to use is this one here, which has all the tools pre-installed. And I have a Windows 11 and a Windows 10 version, but some of the students are just using a clean Windows 10 machine, and in that case you have to install Visual Studio, and you'll have to install a few other tools as we go ahead. All the tools we're using are free, and most of them are pretty small, the only exception being Visual Studio, which is a pretty big download. Anyway, then once you've got them there going, the simplest project to start with is Process Explorer, and we're going to cover a lot of tools to see what's inside Windows. So I'm using the Windows 11 machine here, and let me get this going, and it is PAT/SSW0RD. All right, so this is, I just put on Microsoft updates that it wanted to put on today, and so it may be even more fouled up than usual. This Windows 11 machine has been working pretty well in previous classes though. All right, so I've already pre-installed Visual Studio. And if you want to compile command line tools in Visual Studio, what you do is click Start, and on Windows 11 you have to click All Apps because they've sort of hidden the normal Start menu over here. But once you get a list of all your applications, you find Visual Studio. And by the way, those command line prompts opening in the background are, I think, some of the hacking tools I've installed on here doing whatever they do on boot up. And so here there's a Visual Studio 2019 menu. And in that menu, I'm going to use the x86 Native Tools command prompt, which lets you compile 32-bit code. It's kind of funny. It's a command line tool, but you have to come to this command prompt or it won't work. So there's something about the environment it sets up that forces you to come here. And I'm just going to make the font bigger so people can see it, especially over the video and such. And I said bold, there we go, and bigger. Yeah, I don't care about updating the shortcut. I'm happy if it updates just right now. Okay, so now I have a command prompt, and I'm also in some strange directory. But I can make a directory to work in that is simpler. So I'm going to make a directory in C:\99. And then go there, CD with C:\99. And now, if I do a directory here, I've got nothing in this directory, which is fine. I have a nice clean directory to work in. And just like we were doing with Python yesterday, I like to just use the command prompt to make things. Notepad, and I'm going to make 99.cpp, a C++ file. So I create a new file, and I have to put in some text from here. Now I think on my machine I might be able to copy and paste from my host Mac into the virtual machine, but if that fails, and it often does, then the simplest answer would be to just open the web page inside the virtual machine, so you don't have to copy across this virtualization boundary, which often fails. So let me make this bigger also. I'd like to get Lucida, but it keeps scrolling off before I can get there. All right. There. So this is a very simple C++ program, not much more than a hello world. It prints a couple lines of text about beer, and then it prints press enter to continue, and then it waits until you press enter. The point of this is to have some text so we can see the strings in the program, and also to have a running process so we can examine a running process. So that's the source code, and I save that. And now to compile it, it's just CL, and that EHSC is actually not necessary, but I thought it was necessary when I wrote these instructions. All right, anyway, it's a harmless flag. This will compile it with the Visual Studio compiler. And as you see, it compiles without errors, and it creates 99.exe. And when you run 99.exe, it prints out, I think, there. It launches a window. Suspicious file detected. That's AVG. Well, that's annoying. All right, let's see if AVG freaks out. I noticed, by the way, that AVG doesn't complain until after I run it, so I have a feeling it already would have done whatever bad thing it was going to do. But anyway, AVG decided to let it run. Okay, good. By the way, to prevent that in the future, I would configure AVG not to look in this folder. So if I go to settings for AVG, which I'm having trouble finding, let's see. How about this, AVG? I had to put AVG on these machines to get Windows Defender to stop working. Microsoft keeps making it harder to turn off Windows Defender, and I could not figure out how to turn it off. So the way to turn it off is to install another antivirus, and AVG has the ability to ignore folders. And so I will try to find my exceptions here, and I thought I already had ctools. I got to add C99, that's why. So let me, I would add one. If I add exception, okay, there, C:99. All right, C:\99. All right, I'll add this exception, and then AVG will hopefully not give me more grief about creating strange folders in here. Now, Alex, why don't you share your screen? And let me show you where it is, because I'm sure other people will need to see this also. Just share your screen. And I'll refresh my Twitch screen here, because he can't find the Visual Studio, and it is kind of hard to find. Good. Yes, so the command prompt won't work. When Visual Studio is installed, which I see it is, click Start on the bottom left. And then scroll down here to the V's. I have to scroll down to the V's. There are several Visual Studio prompts. You need the first one that looks like a folder. Click the arrow next to it. There it is, and now it's the one next to the bottom, x86 Native Tools. That one. You went past that one there. That's what you have to do. It is a little hard to find, and that's the command prompt that will let you write software easily. Good. That's a good question, and it's a good little tip to get on the video. Thank you. All right, so now let me go back to here. So now I've got a running process. Yep, that's good. And now I want to look at this with Process Explorer. And I've already got Process Explorer installed on these machines. So you type process proc, and then it will find procx64 and procmon64. These are both sysinternals tools from Microsoft, and we're going to use them both. But right now we're going to use Process Explorer, which is procxp64. What this is a better version of Task Manager that shows you exactly what your machine is doing. And it loads these things in the order which they launched. So first your machine boots up, and the system starts some processes, and then it starts a whole bunch of services that run just to get the machine going, that run mostly as SVC host processes. And this is something that always used to puzzle me about Windows machines. If you go into Task Manager, you see all these SVC host processes. Each one of these is hosting a few Windows processes, and this tool will let you see it. This one here is running the DCOM server and plug and play, and this one is running remote procedure call, and so on. These are all the things that launch background services on Windows. And then, if you scroll down to the bottom of all these Windows services, you finally get to Userland. When the color changes to purple, Explorer.exe is the process that draws the desktop and the Start button. And up here above it is WinLogon, which means just what it says. That's the process that took your username and password and logged you in. So everything before that had to run as system or some other impersonal account because you hadn't logged in yet. Machine did not even know who you were. After you log in, then it launches Explorer, and everything you start, from the start button or the command line or anything, is all a child of your Explorer and runs with your privileges. And those are the purple items here. And here is a command prompt, and then something called conhost, and here's the 99.exe that we just created. So you click on that, and this just shows you a summary of that process that's running and how much memory it's using. But you can see more information with view show lower pane and view lower pane DILs. And what this shows you now is all the libraries used by that process. And even though that was a very simple program that does almost nothing, it has to use a lot of Windows libraries, which is what you see here. WoW64 and WoW-Base and NTDIL and ASWHook.dil. Those are the Windows libraries, dynamically linked libraries that are being used by the process. And there's a flag defined there. And the last bit of here is to look at the process properties, which is interesting. If you right-click on the process, the 99.exe, and view the properties, then you can see information about the running process. And if we go to the Strings tab, you'll see the readable strings in it. Every Windows executable always has this string. This program cannot be run in DOS mode. And this is just showing all the series of bytes that happen to make readable text. So a lot of them are just random bytes. But if you scroll down a bit, you will find the text that we typed in the source code. Those are function names. And there we are. This is the text. 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. Press enter to continue. Here's the text that we put in, those print statements in the program, and they're just sitting right there in memory. And notice there's an image and memory here. The image is showing you the strings from the disk file that we compiled. Memory is showing you the memory image. Now we're going to go through this in great detail, how it loads from disk to memory, but essentially it just copies segments directly into memory one-to-one. So if you look at the image file, it's here, and if you look in memory, you'll see exactly the same strings. This is a normal Windows executable, just makes a copy of the disk file directly into memory. We're going to see some examples later where the disk file is different than the memory, but that is not normal. For normal executables, you see the same strings on the disk as you do in the RAM. And that's it for this one. So I'm going to stop the video and answer some questions.